Focus to some more news coming in. Global crude oil prices have fallen back to around $70 a barrel, close to levels seen before the Iran conflict after having surged sharply during the crisis. Fuel is one of the biggest costs for airlines, and higher aviation turbine fuel prices were cited as a major reason for fare hikes and flight cuts over the past few months. Now, as oil prices ease, a natural question being asked by passengers across India is if fares went up when fuel became expensive, should ticket prices now come down when fuel costs fall? Well, airlines are expected to benefit significantly from lower fuel bills, and aviation stocks have already reacted positively to the decline in crude prices. At the same time, airlines are arguing that ticket prices are influenced by several factors beyond fuel, including aircraft availability, flight capacity, operational costs, and route demand. Industry reports suggest that fares may not immediately fall even if fuel prices remain lower. Let's listen in to what the Civil Aviation Minister said on the subject.
To see that in regard to the ATF, we have also provided 10,000 crore rupees of price stabilization fund also. So you can see how importantly Government of India is treating this problem. Second thing, now that we are seeing the prices also come down, we still have to observe it for quite some time, because we have to see if it is coming down for a longer time or it's a sudden movement that we are seeing. So we are continuously discussing with the airlines, because last 4 months have been very critical for them also in terms of operations because of the price instability that has happened. So I would say that we would just like to see it for a little bit more on how the clarity or how the stability is happening in this sector. Once we see that this is there for the longer time, then obviously we are going to talk to them, and in terms of surcharges or the additional prices that we are seeing at this moment, then definitely we will work into bringing it down.
Well, let's quickly, of course, update you with some details emerging with regards to, of course, flight fares now. So flight prices, of course, had surged earlier, as you all, of course, know very well. Let's look at what they were before the war and after the war. Delhi, Mumbai, you can see the prices before the war for a ticket, of course, were 4,500 to 7,000 rupees. After the war, they became 5,000 to 8,500 rupees. That means a jump of about 10 to 20% in prices of tickets for this sector. The Delhi-Bengaluru sector also went up from 5,000 to 8,000 rupees before the war. The prices for tickets for this sector after the war were 6,000 to 10,000 rupees. That's a surge of 15 to 25%. Meanwhile, Delhi-Hyderabad, the prices stood at 4,500 rupees to 7,500 rupees per ticket. After the war, it went up to 5,500 rupees to 9,000 rupees a ticket. That's again a 15 to 20% increase. Delhi-Chennai also saw a high surge from 5,000 to 8,000 rupees per ticket before the war. It went up to 6,000 to 10,000 rupees after the war. That's an increase of 15 to 25%. Delhi-Kolkata also went up from 4,000 to 6,500. It went to 5,000 to 8,000 rupees a ticket post the war. That's again an increase of 10 to 20%. Delhi-Dubai, of course, saw a huge spike because of the aviation fuel crisis, the increase in costs of oil, and also, of course, the fact that there was so much volatility there in the airspace. So Delhi-Dubai from 12,000 to 20,000 rupees became 25,000 to 45,000 rupees. That's about 100 to 150% increase in rates. Delhi-London, which was 45,000 to 65,000 rupees a ticket, surged to 65,000 to 95,000 rupees a ticket. That's a 40 to 60% increase. That's quite high. Delhi-London, of course, we've explained to you. Delhi-Paris, 42,000 to 60,000 rupees earlier, became 60,000 rupees to 90,000 rupees post the war. Again, a 40 to 60% increase. Delhi-New York also went up quite significantly from 60,000 rupees to 90,000 rupees a ticket earlier. It was 90,000 to 1.4 lakh rupees post the war. That's again an increase of 50 to 70%. Meanwhile, Delhi-Moscow stood at 30,000 to 45,000 pre-war. Post-war became 45,000 to 70,000 rupees. That's a 40 to 60% increase in the fare for those tickets. So clearly, of course, the tickets all went up. What about the oil prices? Well, those had surged earlier, but now they've clearly come back to pre-war levels. 1st of January, oil stood at $60.75 a barrel. ADF price, of course, was 92,323 rupees per KL. 1st of February, it was $65.21 ATF stood at 91,393.39. 1st of March, 72.52. As you can see, there's been that steady increase, 72.52 dollars per barrel. 96,638.14 was the ATF amount for this month. 1st of April, it stood at $81. Oil prices, ADF was 1,04,000 rupees. 1st of May, further surge, ATF at 1,42,000. Oil at 76.50. Now, of course, going down. 25th June, 69.58 is where the oil stands at. ATF at 1,15,000. So clearly, of course, you can see from the steady spike, now, of course, things have started coming down. Let me bring in Vandana Singh, aviation expert, in at this point. Vandana Singh, of course, relief for passengers not yet, even though the oil prices are falling down. Oil prices has, of course, come down for oil. Of course, what we are seeing overall, the increase that happened pre-war levels of oil prices and ATF have now started steadily declining, but still no relief for either people who want to fuel up their car or passengers for airline flights. Many are asking, when prices went up for different sectors from pre-war to post-war, now that the war is over, now that the ceasefire has happened, and now that the oil prices are declining globally, will this benefit be passed over to passengers? Will this benefit be extended by airline companies?
Good evening, Uday, and good evening to all the NewsX viewers over there. First and foremost, this is good news that we hear, but we have to be cautiously optimistic as we speak. And let's weigh in both sides of the coin here. First of all, look at the VAT and look at the air turbine fuel. And we know that ATF, air turbine fuel, it contributes 35 to 40% of the airline costs. So who is benefiting over here? It is the airline. Will the benefit get passed on to the consumers? Will the consumer sentiment work? It's too early to say. Gradual correction is possible, but this may take close to 2 months. Now, because let's not forget the rupee depreciation, that doesn't change. Look at the fact that the lease rentals, crew maintenance, forex, these are all dollar dominated as we speak. So nothing is going to reset over here. And therefore, it is good to see this news, but the point is, will this relief come down to the passengers? The answer from my perspective at this point of time is no. This is going to take some time, Uday. It may take 2 months to correct, or it will be a gradual phased correction. What the government has to do, and as we speak, there's a GST Council meeting that's going on, is to bring everything under a uniform tax structure, which means uniform VAT, value-added tax, which the states have. Let's say Delhi and Mumbai for the last 6 months have had 7%, so they stand to benefit. But again, as you mentioned, you look at Bengaluru, which is still sitting between 23 to 25%. So unless and until the government is able to bring everything under a uniform tax structure, the prices are not really going to fall. Of course, there is going to be a price war between the Indigos, the Air India, and the Akasas of the world. There will be a price war. And the points that will be affected, definitely where we'll see a slight fall, will be Delhi-Mumbai, will be Delhi-Bengaluru. These routes, especially because now we have Jewar that's come in, which is Noida International Airport, and we have Navi Mumbai International Airport that's come in. So the good thing here is we are bringing in more capacity, more slots for airlines to come in at 2 major metros, which will definitely affect the demand and supply, and this surge will be affected. So that's one good point for all of us as customers. But when it comes to cheaper tickets, it's not going to happen so soon. It's going to take time, Uday. Easy, because this is gradual correction. Airline is going to look at all of the things. We are still dollar dependent. Our rupee is depreciated, as I spoke of. And unless and until Now we have the current government in power, and it is in power in most of the states in India. So unless and until they can convince a government of Karnataka to lower down the VAT, and they are able to bring everything under your uniform umbrella, tax umbrella, things are not going to change, or the passengers will not see a relief, except Delhi, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, or some of the big, high routes, strong routes. They will see a little difference for sure, but not others for now. Over to you there.
Mithali Nikore, economist, also joins us live. Isn't this fair, Mithali? If prices did go up, if oil prices were rising, when they go down, why isn't that benefit passed on to consumers?
Absolutely,
Aviation
Uday.
stocks,
And I think
aviation.
here you have to be
Yes, please complete.
we have to be careful, when we speak about the pricing, because if you recall, it took almost 2 months for any sort of pass through, which was made from the government of India's side to retail prices, even at the petrol pump. And for several weeks, the government was already subsidizing the petrol prices in any case. And even now, when the increase was made, it was only a minor increase actually when you compare it to the actual amount of petrol prices, the way the Brent crude prices went up. The Brent crude prices went up by nearly 2x or 3x at one point. At one point, the amount was 3 times. Then it settled down at about 2 times of pre-war prices. Pre-war it was around $75 per barrel. Then during the peak of the war, it went up to about 110. And this was never passed on. This has never been passed on to consumers. So the pass through in a regime where it is so highly regulated, the price that we pay at the retail point, it cannot be a one-to-one comparison. And today the airlines are still paying much higher prices because Brent crude prices have a very weak correlation with the aviation prices, as Dr. Vandana has already explained. The aviation fuel prices may not be a clear one-to-one. Today the Brent crude price falls, tomorrow the ATF price will fall. It doesn't work like that. ATF prices are decided with long-term contracts and short-term contracts. So I think that it might take at least 3 months or even 4 months for some of these prices to reflect in the aviation ticket prices. And at the retail petrol pump, it may not reflect at all, because it was a very different mathematics which was put in place for some of these increases. At the end of the day, the economic impact is more wide. We have to see how is this feeding into inflation, and over time definitely the fuel prices, the retail fuel prices, diesel prices, and particularly LPG prices need to be brought down. But that also, I feel, should be a staggered decrease, because we have to see what happens actually with this war. I mean, we still haven't seen a proper memorandum of understanding being signed with all parties. I mean, Israel is still not part of several of these discussions. So the macroeconomic picture is still far from over.
Yes, indeed. And let me, in fact, quickly also, ask you about that, Vandana saying. The fact is, aviation stocks also have gone up. Aviation stocks did increase when oil prices have come down after the war ended, because obviously there was cheer for aviation companies, and that's why their stocks did rise. But the passenger feels a bit disappointed through this entire, experience. Should the government do more?
Absolutely, Uday. We know that the shares went up by 4%, Indigo and Air India immediately. And we know that, this is what we call indirect support. It's not a direct subsidy. And I've already spoken about the VAT. Definitely the government has to do more. The government has not given a discount on ticket prices or announced that from its side. It is just this news of Brent crude coming down. And as I said, this takes effect. And very rightly, fuel stations, we won't see the price. Let's say Delhi is at 112.4 paisa right now per liter. It's not going to come down. They are going to use this space to recover their other verticals. And in case of an airline, as I said, it is 35 to 40%, which is the air turbine fuel. And unless the value added tax comes under the GST umbrella, and I said there's a meeting going on today right now, if that happens and they are able to bring about a uniform tax structure, we may see some relief on high demand, routes such as Delhi and Delhi Bengaluru. We may see that relief first on those sectors because these airlines will start competing. But immediately for the passenger to see a relief is not going to work because we know what the state of affairs is as we speak on the war side as well, as conflict is continuing in its own silos, and on the other side as well, where you see the rupee depreciation. Of course, it is a very good sign that the trade deal is almost coming through, but we've all been waiting for it for quite some time. And also, when it comes through, Uday, it will take good many months for us to see the fructification and see the real fruits on the table.
Deepti Kala, let me draw you in here as well. What is the likelihood of aviation companies passing on this benefit now to consumers? When could that happen? And what do you make also of the oil prices coming down? Is that a sign of how it's going to stay for the next 4 or 5 weeks?
We are left with right now in our discussion around this topic is that we have to also cater for the lock-in fuel. The prices have risen for couple of months now, and whatever fuel we have stocked in, that has already holds a higher value than what we are seeing now. So the government in no case is going to reduce those prices and give it to us. And as the panel discussion is going on, so all the considering all the factors and the kind of the initial hesitancy that our government has shown in increasing the prices, while the crude oil prices were really high, and now that we have been able to do it, now the common man is getting acclimatized to this new regime of higher prices. And then the crude oil has gone down. Even if the crude oil falls like from $80 per barrel to $70, there is around 12.5% overall drop. So the ATF fuel comes down from around 6 to 12% as per this calculation. So 6 to 12% catering to that in another 4 to 5 weeks, getting the prices down across the country. I don't think it's a decision that government might be taking very quickly. However, as a common man, I would, and understanding all the economics, I would, the same kind of steep that we had seen, the kind of timings we had seen in increasing the prices, I think the same kind of slope we might see when we look at or waiting for when we are waiting for prices to go down. Over to you there.
Group Captain UK Devnath is also joining the broadcast now, former Indian Air Force officer. Group Captain Devnath, will flyers get much needed respite according to you? What explains this delay by aviation companies? Can the DGCA do more? Can the Union Civil Aviation Ministry do more?
Ujay, definitely Ministry will first want that things should stabilize. Just because price of crude oil has fallen, just because price of aviation turbine fuel is coming down, doesn't mean that it will remain at a lower level. The normal policy will be to wait and watch for some time. Ministry will always consult Oil Ministry, what Hardeep Puri sees, how he forecasts price of aviation turbine fuel in next days to come, weeks to come. As far as the total volume of aviation is concerned, you see, Uday, the decrease in passenger flight globally was rather marginal. Most of the decrease was not because price of ATF was high. Most of the decrease in passenger traffic was not because air travel was expensive. The decrease was because of war. The industrial opportunities, the trade opportunities globally had shrunk. say roughly a large number of businessmen, entrepreneurs will visit Gulf countries, and then they will tie up various business opportunities all over the globe. But this businessmen or entrepreneurs or um, financiers, flying up to Gulf countries, enjoying for 3 4 days, and clinching a business deal in between, that vanished overnight. So slowly things will come back. First, government will watch the movement between the USA and Iran. Will the tension reduce? And even if the tension reduces, will Strait of Hormuz remain open? And will it remain open after 60 days? Yes, Uday?
Okay, okay. Let me, in fact, also, ask you about that Delhi-Dubai sector as well, because there was earlier a lot of volatility because of the airspace closures. Presumably, it was the same to other parts of the Gulf and Middle East. Vandana Singh, do we expect those prices to also stabilize now?
No, not yet, Uday. It's going to take time. First of all, the people themselves are very, they are skeptical, if that's the word we can say, because we are saying the war is over, we are saying the MOU has been digitally signed, but there is an Israel over there, there is a Netanyahu over there, there's a whole lot of politics where you can join the dots. So you don't expect Dubai to stabilize. UAE has had a very bad impact, and that impact is felt all over in all the industries, not just aviation industry. It is felt everywhere. It is felt by the people living there who have fled UAE as such and will not go back till they are rest assured that everything is back to normal. To be honest, nothing is back to normal as yet. It's a wait and watch. It's a gradual correction. And yes, the government has to do more. The ministry has to do more, because don't forget that 10,000 crore so-called credit, that benefit that was given by the ministry has come out from our pockets, from the taxpayers. It is borne directly by all of us. So it's all a catch-22, and let's wait for things to normalize. They have not yet normalized, but this is good news, and let's, as I said in the beginning, be cautiously optimistic. Over to you.
All right. Let me quickly ask you, Mitali, also about the aviation companies. When do you believe they will rebound in terms of their profits?
So I think, Uday, when we look at this entire scenario, the uncertainty is the factor which actually weighs down on the profitability, because at the end of the day, for aviation companies, it's not only about the top line, it's also about the cost of finance. Because at the end of the day, we know that several aviation companies are not running operating profits. They are operating on working capital that is borrowed, on debt capital, on equity financing that comes in from various sources. And if the risk rating of aviation as an industry, as a
Yes.
sector, continues to increase, then it becomes harder for them to access capital. So I think it still will take 3 to 6 months for that risk rating to stabilize.
Okay.